get started in your study in the book of Ruth. While you go through it, if you can find a commentary or something that would speak of it a little more extensively, it's a poetical book, and it's amazing how it fits together. Even the very center of the book, according to the number of Hebrew letters and words, the focal point, the climax, if you will, of the story is right in the dead center of the book. So also the beginning, the first 5 verses or so, are the same number of Hebrew words that the last 5 verses or so are. So it's very symmetrical, and that's their poems, their poetry back then wasn't rhyming like we do today, like we would sing a song in rhymes. Rather, it's rhythmical, and it has number variances, and that's how they agree with each other. Now you can turn to the book of Ruth and pray. So we put it in the time setting, and we're about to get into a family here. I've got this laid out. We got Simon and Judah, Dan and Benjamin here. And inside of Benjamin, that's where Jerusalem was. And Bethlehem is just south of there. And Judah, there's a little, if you will, this is a city in a county complex like we would have. This is called Ephrathah on the outskirts of Bethlehem. Also, I believe it's in Micah. When you read through Micah, it parallels Ephrathah and Bethlehem as the same area. So we'll get into that here in Ruth as well. Ephraim and Manasseh and Issachar, Zebulun, Asher, Naphtali, and the east of Manasseh, and Gad, and Reuben. These are all within the dark black of the 12 tribes of Israel. And outside, when they came into the land, we've got Arabia to the south. We've got Edom, which was Esau's descendants. We've got Moab here, and outside of Reuben is Ammon, Aram, Syria here. We've got desert territory out here, Mediterranean Sea out that way. That gives you a little bit of geographical context of where they were at the time. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. A man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech, his wife's name was Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. Now they were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab and lived there. Now Elimelech was Naomi's husband, and he died. And she was left with her 2 sons. Well, they married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. After they lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Well, when she heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. So with her 2 daughters-in-law, she left the place where she'd been living and set out on the road that would take them back to Judah. Then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show kindness to you as you have shown to your dad and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband." Then she kissed them, and they wept aloud and said, "We will go back with you to your people." Naomi said to her daughters-in-law, "Return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have any more sons who could become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I'm too old to have another husband, even if I thought there was still hope for me. Even if I had a husband tonight and gave birth to sons, would you wait for them to grow up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters, for it's more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has gone out against me." At this, they wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye. But Ruth clung to her. "Look," said Naomi, "your sister-in-law is going back to her people and to her God. Go back with her." Ruth replied, "Do not urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, with anything, but death separates you and me. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go back with her, she stopped urging her. So the two women went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women exclaimed, "Can this be Naomi?" "Do not call me Naomi," she told them, "but call me Myra, because the Almighty has made my life bitter. For I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me." So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. Now, Naomi had a relative on her husband's side from the clan of Elimelech, a man of standing, whose name was Boaz. Ruth the Moabitess said to her mother-in-law, "Let me go to the fields and pick the leftover grain behind anyone whose eyes I find favor." Naomi said, "Go ahead, my daughter." So she went into the field and began to glean behind the harvesters. As it turned out, she found herself working in a field belonging to Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech. Just then, Boaz arrived from Bethlehem to greet the harvesters. "The Lord be with you," he said. "The Lord bless you," they called back. Then Boaz asked the foreman of the harvesters, "Whose young woman is that?" The foreman replied, "She is the Moabitess who came back from Moab with Naomi. She said, 'Please let me glean and gather in your field behind the harvesters among the sheaves.' She went into the field and has been working steadily from morning till now, except for a short rest in the shelter." So Boaz said to Ruth, "Listen, my daughter, don't go and glean in another field. And don't go away from here, but stay here with my servant girls. Watch the field where my men are working, and follow along after the girls. I told the men not to harm you, and when you're thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars my men have filled." At this, she bowed down her face to the ground. She exclaimed, "Why have I found such favor in your eyes that you should notice me, a foreigner?" Boaz replied, "I've been told all about what you've done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your father and your mother and your homeland, and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you've done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have now come to take refuge. May I continue to find favor in your eyes, my Lord," she said. "You gave me comfort and spoken kindly to your servant, though I do not have the standing of one of your servant girls. At mealtime, Boaz said to her, 'Come over here, have some bread and dip it in the wine vinegar.' When she did so, she sat down with the harvesters. He offered her some roasted grain. She ate all she wanted and had some left over. When she got up to glean, Boaz ordered his men that even if she gathers among the sheaves, do not embarrass her. Rather, pull out some stalks for her from the bundles and leave them for her to pick up. Do not rebuke her for it." So Ruth gleaned in the fields until evening, and she threshed the barley she had gathered, and it amounted to about an ephah. She carried it back to town, and her mother-in-law saw how much she gathered. Ruth also brought out and gave her what she had left over after she had eaten enough. Her mother-in-law asked her, "Where did you glean today? Where did you work? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." And Ruth said to her mother-in-law, "The name of the man I worked with today is Boaz," she said. "The Lord bless him, my daughter. He has not stopped showing kindness to the living and the dead." She added, "This man is our close relative. He is one of our kinsman redeemers." And Ruth the Moabitess even said to stay with his servant girls until they finished harvesting all his grain. And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, "It would be good for you, my daughter, to go with these girls, because in someone else's field you might be harmed." So Ruth stayed near the servant girls of Boaz to glean until the barley and wheat harvest were finished, and she lived with her mother-in-law. But one day, Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, "My daughter, should I not try and find a home for you where you will be well provided for? And is not Boaz, with whose servant girls you've been, a kinsman of ours? Tonight he will be whittling barley on the threshing floor. Wash, perfume yourself, and put on your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor, but don't let him know you're there until after he's finished eating and drinking. Then when he lies down, note the place where he's lying. Go and uncover his feet and lie down. He'll tell you what you are to do." "I will do whatever you say," Ruth answered. So she went down to the threshing floor and did everything her mother-in-law told her to do. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and laid down. In the middle of the night, something startled the man, and he turned to discover a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I'm your servant, Ruth. Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a kinsman redeemer." "The Lord bless you, my daughter. This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. If you have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All my fellow townsmen know that you're a woman of noble character. Although it is true that I am near kin, there's a kinsman redeemer nearer than I. Stay here for the night. In the morning, if he wants to redeem you, good. Let him redeem. But if he is not willing, surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. Lie here until morning." So Ruth lay at his feet until morning, but got up before anyone could be recognized. And he said to her, "Don't let it be known that a woman came to the threshing floor." And also said, "Bring me the shawl you are wearing and hold it out." When she did so, he poured into it 6 measures of barley. He put it on her and went back to town. When Ruth came to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, "How did it go, my daughter?" Ruth told her everything that Boaz had done for her and added, "He gave me these 6 measures of barley, saying, 'Don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed.'" And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, "Wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for that man will not rest until the matter is settled today." Meanwhile, Boaz went up to the town gate. He sat down. When the kinsman redeemer came along that he had mentioned, he said, "Come over here and sit down." So he went over and sat down. And Boaz took 10 of the elders of the town and said, "Sit here," and they did so. Then Boaz said to the kinsman redeemer, "Naomi, who has come back from Moab, is selling the land that belonged to our brother Elimelech. I thought I should bring this matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of those seated here and in the presence of the elders of my people. For no one has the right to redeem it except you, and I am next in line." "I'll redeem it," he said. And Boaz said to the kinsman redeemer, "On the day that you buy this land from Naomi and Ruth the Moabitess, you acquire the dead man's widow in order to maintain the name of the dead with his prosperity." At this, the kinsman redeemer said, "Then I cannot redeem it because it might endanger my own estate. You redeem it yourself. I cannot do it." Now, in earlier times in Israel, for the redemption and transfer of property to become complete, one party took off his sandal and gave to the other. This was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel. So the kinsman redeemer said, "You buy it yourself." and removed his sandal. Then Boaz, speaking to all the elders and the people, said, "Today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the land of Elimelech, and Mahlon, and Chilion, and I've also acquired Ruth, Mahlon's widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his prosperity, so that his name will not disappear from his family or from the town records. Today you are witnesses." Then the elders and all those at the gate said, "We are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who's coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together build up the house of Israel. May you have standing in Ephrathah and become famous in Bethlehem. May the offspring that the Lord gives you by this young woman be like that of Perez, who Tamar bore to Judah." Then Boaz took Ruth. She became his wife. And he went to her, and she conceived. The Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. And the women living there said to Naomi, "Praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you without a kinsman redeemer. May he become famous throughout all of Israel. He renew your life, sustain you in your old age, for your daughter, who loves you, and who is better to you than 7 sons, has given him birth." Then Naomi took the child, placed him on her lap, and she cared for him. The women living there said, "Naomi has a son." And they called him Obed. Obed was the father of Jesse, the father of David. This then is the family line of Perez. Perez was the father of Hezron. Hezron was the father of Ram. Ram, the father of Amminadab. Amminadab, the father of Nahshon. Nahshon, the father of Salmon. Salmon was the father of Boaz. Boaz was the father of Obed. Obed, the father of Jesse. And Jesse, the father of David.